G'day guys, I have an amazing conversation to bring to you today with the one and only Giovanni Gaja. That's right, Gaia. Very lucky to chat with Giovanni, a terrific fella. We talked all things of the Gaia history, all their incredible innovation over the years, their various projects all around Italy, and of course we tasted some absolutely spectacular wines as well. It was a great chat, great fun. So come inside, let's check out Giovanni Gaja. Cheers. Ciao Giovanni Gaja, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Sydney, Australia.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be back.
It sounds like it's been a busy trip. You flew in this morning.
Yeah, well, you can hear it from my voice because I spent 4 days in Melbourne and they got the best of me. And so now this is my little bit of voice that remains.
I'll go easy. I'll do all the talking. It's okay.
No, but I have 4 days left in Sydney, so I don't know what's going to happen in the next days.
So you're obviously travelling around Australia, telling the story of Gaia. So it's been 10 years since your sister came out. Where is Gaia at the moment? What is happening with Gaia?
So in Australia or in general?
Just in general.
In general.
And I might pour a glass while we're doing that. Pour a little glass of Etna Bianco.
So yeah, at the moment it's a pretty exciting time because there are 2 generations coexisting in the family. My parents, my father Angelo and my mother Lucia, and then myself and my 2 sisters Gaia and Rossana, and we represent the 5th generation. Today we have 4 wineries in Italy. Mm-hmm. There is Gaia that was founded in Barbaresco in 1859 by my great-grandfather Giovanni Gaja. Then we have 2 wineries in Tuscany. In 1994 we created Pieve Santa Restituta, which was a winery that was already existing and that we bought in 1994 in Montalcino. So we work with the Sangiovese variety and we make a Brunello di Montalcino. In 1996 we created the Carricante winery in the Bolgheri area, and there we focus on international varieties. And in 2017 we started the IDDA, which is the latest project we developed. It's a partnership because we partnered with Alberto Graci, which is a wonderful producer in Sicily, and we decided to start together this project on the southwestern slope of Etna.
You mentioned about now this crossover of the generations in Gaia. What are your early memories of the family business from your childhood? Were you wanting to get involved?
Well, I think what my father usually says is that the biggest achievement of his life is having 3 children that all the 3 of them work into the winery. And earliest memories, I think either for me and my sisters, work has never been divided by vacation. No, meaning that we were always exposed to wine. We were always exposed to my parents always working, bringing work home. So in a way, we were also always involved in everything that my parents were doing. I remember when my father created Camarcanda in 1996. Of course, for a period of time when the winery was in construction, but then also when the winery was finished in 2000, for a long time, the winery needed some effort, some exposure. So I remember that this was throughout all of elementary and basically middle school. Every Friday when I was coming out of school, my parents would pick me up and then we were driving down to Bolgheri because my father had meetings, things to do down there.
Driving down to Bolgheri from Barbaresco?
Yes. Yeah. And my father had meeting or things to do there, and he always brought me with him. And so, you grow up surrounded by wine, surrounded by the culture of wine. And so you reach a point where
it just feels natural.
It feels natural to just, join and...
And how much now is Angelo still involved in the business versus you and Gaia and Rossana?
A lot.
Yeah.
a lot. So
I heard a really good quote while we're drinking this, Etna Bianco. He said about going to Etna, and it was, to paraphrase, it was something like, the moment that your regrets are more than your dream, it's a problem. And he always had that itch and that dream to go to Etna.
My father is...
I've butchered that quote, by the way, but it was something like that.
My father is completely involved in the daily management of the winery. My father, for a long time, he has been traveling all over the world, spreading the word about Nebbiolo and about all the regions where we produce wines. Of course, in the last 10 to 15 years, he doesn't travel as extensively as he used to, but still travels, still 3-4 travels a year he does. So, for example, next week when I come back, we go to London together. We do 2 days in the market because he loves doing that. He's been doing that his entire life. I think it's also a way to always be involved in what you do. So he still travels. Mostly today, my father is once a week he travels to Tuscany to take care of to monitor what's going on in the 2 wineries in Tuscany. Once every month and a half he goes to Sicily. He's much more involved in the vineyard management today than he has to be than he had been in the last not in the past, because in the past he was traveling more, so now he has more time to do that. He does a lot of seminars, conferences, because I think today he's turning 85 next week.
Amazing.
He reached an age where he can say and do whatever he wants.
Amazing.
So really now he's enjoying. But yes, he's the first one that come into the winery at 8 a.m., the last one to leave at 8 p.m. at night. Truly, I think work is a medicine, because he does what he's been doing for the last 60 years. He does what he enjoys, and he's always involved. Of course, in the last 10, 15 years, he took some steps back to give some space to myself and my sisters to get into the winery, to also make our own decisions. And my father is someone that is he is generous, meaning that he's willing to give his knowledge, to pass his knowledge to us. So we're very lucky in that. Doesn't have a lot of patience. So,
I can imagine.
So he's willing to give knowledge, but you ask once, don't ask twice.
You talked about your father and that pioneering spirit, and he was a real force of nature. The move to Etna Etna's becoming more and more popular, but most people would think we're going to go to Etna, we're going to plant on the northern slopes there and make Nerello Mascalese. No, not Gaia. We're going south and we're focusing on Carricante. Can you talk to me a little bit about that decision and why the focus on white wines, which is delicious, by the way?
Thank you. Yes. So, well, first of all, let me say that the project in Sicily started in 2017, but there has been a calling from Etna that happened much earlier than that, because the first time that my father went on Etna was 1999. My father has always been a very good friend with Giacomo Takis. Giacomo Takis has been from I believe 1961 to 1991. He was the winemaker for Antinori. He's also the winemaker behind also the success of Sassicaia. So he has always been a very influential person in the world of wine. My father has been very good friend with Giacomo Takis because he was from Piedmont, from a town called Poerino, close to Torino, and he did enology school in Alba. So they became friends in Alba. Then in 1991, he left Antinori, and he was hired to become a consultant for Sicily, for many of the different consortium of Sicily, because he had gathered a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. So in 1999, Takis called my father and told him, look, you have to come to Etna to visit this place, because it's It's magical. Then if you want to do something here, it's up to you, but you have to come and see the place. So my dad flew to Etna, and when you fly to Etna, you fly to Catania, and when you land on Catania, you fly over this huge mountain, this huge volcano. Usually the top of the volcano is white because it's covered in snow. Etna is the tallest volcano of Europe. And then below the white, you have this pitch black soil, which is basically all the ashes that are deposited. So that was already the opposite of the Gaia label.
Yeah.
Black and white, and it was white, and it was white on top and black on the bottom. At that time,
He was always thinking about the marketing and stuff too, right? But it's true, like thinking back to even, was it Giovanni that first did the big kind of guy on the label?
Exactly. It was my grandfather.
Yeah.
So at that time in 1999, it was not the right time to move to Etna because my sisters and I were not even involved in the winery at the moment. My father had just launched the 2 wineries in Tuscany, so it was just not the right time. Then in 2015, he met Alberto Graci, and doing a joint venture is a little bit like doing a marriage because you have to find someone that has to share your same goals, your same vision. It has also your same values.
Laughs at your bad jokes.
Yeah, has bad jokes, even though. With Alberto, it was love at first sight.
Yeah.
And so we decided to start the project. I like to call IDDA a different approach to Etna because my father also is and has always been a different thinker. He likes to do things in a different way, in an original way. So moving on Etna to create a winery in the northern slope of Etna, where 90% of the other wineries are located, and to focus on Nerello Mascalese, which is the most noble variety of Etna, the most planted variety of Etna. It was not something that was different. It was basically doing what all the other producers are already doing. Plus, on top of that, the northern portion of Etna, I think it's been exploited already, meaning that all the best plot of land have already been discovered, have already been taken. So we decided to focus in the southwestern slope, which is it's a challenge because it's a region of Etna that still has not been discovered. There are not many wineries in the southwest. The climate also is different because it's a more warmer area because we're more protected from the sea. But still, we can enjoy the magic of Sicily because we still get the generosity of the climate, but the vineyards are between 600 and 1,000 meters of altitude. So you have a breezes, you have a diurnal shift, and because we are in this part of Etna that has a different microclimatic conditions, we decided to focus on Carricante because in the south, because we have a little bit of a drier, more warm weather, we can make a Carricante that is very different. Very unique from the other Carricante you have on Etna, because in the south we can make a Carricante that has more volume, is more fat, is more rounder, more tropical notes on the nose, and we really love Carricante because
But it still has that acidity that you might see in Grey Riesling, in Chablis, in these places. It's got that line and then just texture built around it.
We went also to Etna because we could produce unique wines, wines with tension, with vibrancy.
Yeah, that subtle kind of honeyed waxiness to it as well.
And also because it has acidity, we believe it also has a long aging potential, so it can really show the evolution of
So you're doing mostly white wines in Etna, but now coming back to Piedmont, back to Langhe Chardonnay. I might just pour a splash of this. Would you like a glass of Chardonnay?
Oh.
There's a spittoon just next to you as well, if you're there.
I'll drink.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah. It's the end of a long day. You got an event tonight, don't you?
After this, another one.
Yeah, it's important.
It's going to be the 5th event today.
This is the main event, though. This is the main event. Chardonnay. So was Gaia? So Gaia and Ray was it the first Chardonnay in Piedmont? Is that right?
First Chardonnay in Piedmont, first barreled aged Italian white.
Incredible. So this isn't Guy and Ray. This is the Rossi Bas, so named after your sister. By the way, when are you getting a wine named after you? Right? There's the Gaia and Ray.
I've been asking my father what I did wrong to not deserve a wine for myself.
Well, he named you after your grandfather, and was it your, I don't know how many generations, great grandfather was Giovanni also, right?
Yeah. Giovanni, Angelo, Giovanni. My father is Angelo. I'm Giovanni.
Right. A simple formula.
Next generation, very easy to guess.
Chardonnay. So, why Chardonnay? And I mean, we talk about Gaia combining that tradition with innovation, and we'll get to the Barbaresco and talk about tradition. But with Chardonnay, that must have been a huge decision to go all in on that variety.
So, if you ask my grandfather Giovanni his opinion on white wines in Piedmont, the answer was very clear. The color of the wine here is red, period. And the conversation was over. Because white wines in Piedmont never had an historical relevance. It's always been the homeland of Nebbiolo, the king's varieties Nebbiolo, Barbera, Dolcetto. My father was the first one who introduced Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc varietals. And he did it for different reasons. First, to show the potential of the region, to show that Barolo and Barbaresco is not only the election land for the production of Nebbiolo, but it's a land that can show its greatness also through other varietals. Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc are an example of that. And what I think is unique about the region is that even though they are international varieties and they're able to always adapt and in a way impose their taste over the territory, the soil of the Langhe is a dominant soil. So it's a soil where you always maintain a sense of place and identity of the territory where they're coming from.
And what do you think that character is in your Chardonnays? What do you, if you were to compare them to Burgundy, to Napa Valley? I'm sure you drink a lot of Australian Chardonnay at home. What would you say is the difference?
I don't like to compare it because I think it's different. It's a different expression. For example, for both Rossi Bas that we're drinking now, but also for Gaia Ray, the production comes from Barbaresco and Traiso, so inside of the Barbaresco denomination, and then we have vineyards in Serralunga, in the heart of Barolo. When you plant a Chardonnay in Serralunga, where you usually get the most tannic, earthiest, really austere expression of Nebbiolo, because usually the Barolo from there are always the one that takes the most time. When you plant a Chardonnay in Serralunga, you can't expect to have a Chardonnay that takes dominance over the soil, because you will always have a Chardonnay that is almost tannic itself, that also has an austerity, has a lot of structure. So it maintains one of the origin of the place. And this was also another reason why my father worked on Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc, because the idea was to create white wines that had the same character of Nebbiolo, and in particular they could have an evolution like Nebbiolo does. Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc were both varieties that had already shown in France that they could have an evolution.
Rossi Bas has some Sauvignon Blanc in it these days.
10%.
So this comes from the lower vineyards compared to Gaia Ray, which comes from the high. Is that right? It comes from the higher altitude.
So for Gaia Ray we have two vineyards. One located in Traiso, so around 350 meters of altitude, and was the original vineyard planted in 1979. And then we have in 1989 we planted another 5-hectare vineyard in Serralunga, around 380-400 meters of altitude. For Rossi Bas, in total we use 7 vineyards, and they are located in the Barbaresco village and in Serralunga.
It's beautiful. It's very fresh, like very balanced. It's not this like big powerhouse, textural, rich sort of style, but it has that I guess tension and kind of chalkiness to it as well. Yum. Please. Very good. We love Chardonnay. There's a splash. You can have a splash. That's fine. That's fine. All right. I think we need to get into the reds because I know in a few minutes he's going to say we need to hurry up because the so we're gonna rush through the reds. All right. So Pieve Santo Restituta. So Montalcino. So I mean, for a producer that made its name on Nebbiolo, why Sangiovese? And what do you? We'll get into the style, but tell me a little bit about why Sangiovese.
Well, because Nebbiolo and Sangiovese, they are different varieties, but they can be comparable because they are both indigenous varieties, so they keep the identity of the place. They are both very acidic, both very tannic. Both are little princesses because they can be very difficult to cultivate. They're extremely demanding, but at the same time also rewarding varieties. And also when you think of Barolo, Barbaresco and the Brunello denominations, they are niche markets because these are not wines that are produced in quantity, are wines that are produced in actually small amounts and that are enjoyed by a restricted number of consumers all over the world. So the idea was to apply the experience we gathered on Nebbiolo to Sangiovese and to give our own interpretation of the region.
And what is that interpretation? What are you doing with Brunello that might be seen as being different to what other people would do?
So what we try to do is we want in every winery that we have. So hopefully today, when we finish the tasting, you will see that there is a link, an imaginary link that is connecting all of the winery, which ideally is our style, because we want to give our vision. It means that we are used working with Nebbiolo. We gathered a lot of experience with Nebbiolo, and because of that, we have a way of producing Brunello in Montalcino, but also with the Carricante in Bolgheri. We want to show that we want to produce wines that instead of being powerful, opulent, full-bodied, in reality they can be medium to lighter bodied.
Well, this is very much just like to taste this now. We haven't tasted these before because there wasn't enough left. But to taste it now, it's very like pure fruited, very light on its feet.
So, exactly. So we want to show the cleanness.
It's a vintage.
19.
Yeah.
We want to show the cleanness, the purity of the fruit. We want to show the acidity because we are used working with Nebbiolo, and so Nebbiolo acidity and tannins, which sometimes if you take them separately, if you take them individually, a lot of acidity, a lot of tannins, a lot of structure, they're all negative flaws. But when you put them all together, they create the magic of Nebbiolo. And for us, if you want to have a wine that has tension, that has vibrancy, you need to have acidity. So that's what we focus on, and that's what our style is based.
And so then how do you take that same approach to Bolgheri, where it's a super Tuscan style, Merlot, Cabernet, what are the varieties?
Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon.
And still that focus on acidity and structure for varieties that maybe typically have less acid compared to Italian?
We don't have to do much because most of it does the climate.
Yeah. Okay.
Because when you go to Bolgheri in particular, yes, the climate is warm. Mediterranean climate, hot and dry summers and very mild winters.
Not on the water though. So.
Exactly, but you're on the sea. So Bolgheri has a lot of influence of winds that comes from the sea, that comes from the mountains. So when you go to Bolgheri, there is always a breeze that is affecting the climate, is reducing the temperatures, is moderating the temperatures, and then allows the vines to just develop all this acidity. Then we put something ourselves. So we work in the vineyards in a way to protect the soil more from heat. We pick earlier because this is also something that we do. We like to pick earlier because if you want to protect acidity, we are willing to sacrifice a little bit of a phenolic ripeness, but we want to pick when we have acidity. Because if you pick grapes that have low acidity and high alcohol, in the cellar you can be a magician, but there's nothing you can do. Instead, we pick earlier, so we maintain acidity. Then in the cellar, if we have tannins that are a little bit too harsh, first of all, today they're much softer than what they used to be in the past because of the weather. But then with the oak, you can soften them.
Have you changed much in the winery over the years with the Tuscan kind of projects and from when you started?
I think the biggest change didn't happen in the cellar. And this is not only affecting Tuscany, but it's affecting also Piedmont. The biggest change in the last 30, 40 years, it did not happen in the cellar. There have been improvements in the cellar, but not a revolution. The biggest revolution has happened in the vineyards, because that's where the climate has been changing.
That's where Angelo is.
That's where he is. We've been responding to that by adapting and making changes to give basically the weapons to our vines to defend themselves on their own instead of depending on us.
Oh, fantastic, right? It's a beautiful wine. I can't get over how elegant and mid-weighted it is compared to a lot of more higher profile Italian Sangioveses, which might be a lot more extracted and dense, and that's just very pure and gorgeous. All right, shall we finish with some Moscato?
Freisa, you say Freisa?
Barbaresco. So this is a new venture that the guy Barbaresco, is it?
Emerging winery.
Is this still where all the excitement and the passion really lies within Barbaresco, with all these other projects that you have going?
Of course, our heart is always in Barbaresco. When I think of the Barbaresco, we have a lot of feelings and emotions attached, because it's really the wine that represents who we are. The past, the present, the future, the wine that every single generation has always been producing since 1859. Wow. So really, it's the wine that we are known for, and really who we are.
What vintage are we drinking now? So 1859, 2021. So obviously your grandfather was an innovator in his own sense with Barbaresco, in terms of how he was making the wines, managing the vineyards and stuff. Angelo, then your father, like looking at all these other projects. If you were to think about yourself and Gaia and Rossana and the impact you want to have on this incredible business, is it just more of the same, or are you looking to take the wines in another direction as well?
No, I think so. I think the year that, for example, my father joined the winery in 1961, but then for 7 years he stayed in the cellar, and he joined the winery in 1968. For 7 years stayed in the vineyards. Then in 1968 he came to the cellar and he started to give his own influence. For us, I think the turning point was 2013. 2013 was really the first vintage where my sisters and I were more involved in the management of the winery, most of all in the vinification. I think it was also the time where my father also allowed us to do it. It was a sign of trust. He was saying like, you're not total idiots, I can trust you. So
but don't ask me twice. You have to listen.
So I think we have already given our influence, and our influence is not a revolution, because we don't have to. We have nothing to revolutionize. I think my dad did a pretty good job in bringing Nebbiolo and our wineries where they are. Today, our job is to adapt. Yeah. So we have to adapt, meaning that the climate is changing, and we have to adapt with the climate. So today, of course, the style of the wines is different compared to what it was in the 80s or the 90s. But because the weather also was different back then. Back then, you were receiving, the weather was much colder. You were receiving grapes that were completely unbalanced. And so also they were much more acidic and much more vertical and harsh. So back then, with oak, there was a different treatment in terms of oak. maybe it was, my father was in more
Small
a little
format
bit,
as well,
little bit
right?
more smaller bottle. In 50 years, we always use small and bigger. We never did only one of the two. So there
But do you
always
use
been
more like Botti now than back then, or?
it depends on the vintage,
Yeah,
but
sure.
yes, definitely today there is more aging in big barrel. We still do small barrel. We have a barrique, we have a tonneau, less new oak. Usually every year there is about 5 to 10% of new oak that is introduced, but it is not used on the Barbaresco or on the single vineyards for the first year, so that we don't give too much overpowering aromas. So yeah, I think our job is to bring forward the beauty of Nebbiolo, being able to adapt. So knowing where we're coming from, knowing where we are, and knowing where we want to be, and considering how the weather is changing, we adapt based on the weather. So what my father always tells me and my sisters is that we have to cultivate the culture of doubt, meaning that we always need to have at least a 30% of doubt in everything that we do. Because if you think that what you're doing is the right way and the only way, then there is no margin for improvement. And if you want to survive climate change, you need to be able to be open-minded, you cannot be dogmatic. So you always need to keep an eye open to potential change. Change is not revolution.
Evolution.
Exactly, evolution.
Do you feel pressure at all with the amazing legacy of what your father and grandfather and great-great-grandfathers built, and now with you stepping into more of a leadership role, how does that feel for you? How do you manage that incredible task in front of you?
No, I think, as I mentioned earlier, we are very lucky to have a father like Angelo that is passing his knowledge to us. He's letting the next generation come in and evolve, and of course there must always be respect from both sides, because the new generation comes in and needs to be respectful of what has been done, and I think we have been respectful in the same way that my father has been respectful to us. So leaving us our space, allowing us also to make a mistake, because if you don't make mistake, you don't learn. So we make mistakes, we learn, and we improve. I think for me, but also for my sisters, we don't have to emulate my father, because my father is one of those people that are born once every 50 years. And my father is one of those people that I think he could also have been an actor. Would have had a great success in being an actor. So he has a big personality, has a big charisma. But I think each one of us, we have to follow our own path without trying to be like him. We can take, of course, inspiration from him, but then each one has a different personality, and I think we should work on it, always protecting the passion that we have in what we do. And the passion in what we do has been given to us by our parents, because we learned by example by them.
Amazing. Oh, well, we didn't even talk about the Barbaresco, but it's gorgeous. Similar to what we said with the Montalcino, just balanced, pretty, red-fruited, elegant. I love it. Giovanni, thank you so much. It's been really great to get to meet you this afternoon. First time we've met, obviously, and learn a bit more about the story. I love speaking to producers that have that multi-generational history, because there's so many lessons that you learn from wineries or businesses that have survived that long and evolved, and it's really great. So thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your stay in Australia. Enjoy the sunny weather. You're getting out on a boat, and Neil's taking you out in a boat tomorrow.
Yeah, we're going on a yacht. It's going to be a wonderful day.
It'll be fantastic.
to work, yeah. We work.
Just one thing, just sharks. Be really careful of the sharks. All right, stay in the boat. All right, mate. Good to meet you. Great. Cheers, guys. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you.